It's time to talk about your money here on Quad Cities at 11. For the past year, we've seen a massive amount of American workers decide they don't have to settle anymore. And that has created what's being called the Great Resignation. Joining us to help us understand what this is and why it happened is Dave Elizondo, a certified financial planner with True Financial Partners in Bettendorf. Good morning, Dave.
Morning, Shelby.
All right, so before we dive into the issues surrounding this, let's start with the basic question. What exactly is the Great Resignation?
Well, it all started a couple of years ago when COVID hit and people were forced to stay home, work from home. And for weeks and months and even longer, people got used to working in that more relaxed environment. So, people started to enjoy going to work in their jammies, cutting the grass on their lunch hour. It was just more relaxed. So a couple of problems have come up as a result of that. Number one is it's harder out there to get people to come back to work in the office. People want to work from home. And second of all, a lot of those folks who got comfortable with that relaxed environment started to think, well, maybe I wonder if I can retire early because I really like this.
And you and I were talking about how financial experts such as yourself have noted three major issues with retiring early. The first being someone's 401k. How does that all break down into this?
Well, for all of our working years, 30, 40, 50 years, we're saving money in our 401ks and our IRAs with the hopes of using that money in retirement. And the problem is that let's say your average life expectancy is 85. If you retire at age 65, you've got to make that money last for 20 years. But if you retire at age 55, now you have to spread that money out over a 30-year period. And given inflation and rising costs, inflation's never going away. With those rising costs, it puts a big drag on your money in the 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So it forces you to make your money last longer, which is very hard to do.
And how does Social Security factor into all of this? Because that's a huge point for a lot of people.
Yes, it is. Well, we encourage most of our clients to take their Social Security later rather than earlier. And we'll normally recommend ages maybe 67 to 70. Because with Social Security, the longer you delay starting Social Security, the bigger your monthly checks are going to be. And so if you're going to retire at age 65, let's say you're going to turn your Social Security on at 67. If you retire at age 65, you only have to use your own money for a couple of years until you start getting those Social Security checks. But if you retire at age 55, now you're going to have to use your own money for 12 years before you get that first Social Security check. And again, that's a big drag on your IRA and 401k money.
And there's another piece that people need to consider here. Big one, health insurance. What happens if you retire early? How do you deal with that?
That is a big one because health insurance is one of the fastest rising costs. Health insurance is increasing at such a dramatic rate. Now, we qualify for Medicare at 65. So if you retire at age 65, most people are going to go from their employer's health plan right into Medicare, which is a smooth transition. But if you retire at age 55 and you can't start your Medicare till 65, for most people, they're going to have to self-fund their health insurance for that 10-year period. Again, another big drag on your money. And health insurance is rising so fast, that's a big expense that a lot of people don't factor into their long-term retirement planning.
Well, really quickly, let's say someone has factored all of this in and they decide they still do want to retire early. What's the smoothest way to help make all of that happen?
Well, the best advice that I can give people, Shelby, is to do very in-depth planning long-term, because here's the problem. When people consider retirement, they're normally looking at their financial situation at that time, which is normally their best because that's when they have the most money. They've got their highest earnings at that time. But we always project 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That's where our minds go when people want to talk about early retirement, because that's when things with inflation, expenses are getting really, really high. And so it's the problem down the road, not in the earlier years. So we just strongly encourage people to do long-term retirement planning and maybe try to plan out to age 100 just to make sure you don't run out of money.
All right. Thank you, Dave Elizondo with True Financial Partners in Bettendorf. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Shelby.
Still ahead.